I welcome you with love. Today, as I'm putting the very, very final touches on my book, I realized that in the dedication, I wanted to dedicate it at the very beginning to love and liberation. Now, why did I choose love instead of liberation first? Because love is a fundamental that's needed before we can take the step to liberation. So what do I mean by that? Well, when we kind of look at it, to truly love, we have to be willing to jump in the unknown. The biggest unknown, of course, is liberation. Jumping into the unknown of God. Wow. But actually, in love, in relationship, in sacred relationship, we also have to jump into the unknown. Relationships really aren't about safety and security. And that's one of the beauties of them, because it requires us to face our fear of the unknown, really, face our fear of intimacy, which is an unknown, and move deep into the truth of who we are. What I note on the spiritual path, including for myself, this happened in 1973, there's a certain amount of fear people can go into. They can get really into fear and just stop the whole process. They can just shut themselves down. I mean, that does happen. And it is, in a sense, it said there are many dead bodies along the way. And what we're talking about is not that people physically die, but their fear shuts them down. Oh, they get confused and they don't know what they're doing and why is this and why is that. And it's like suddenly they lose contact with the bigger reality is there's only God. There's only one main purpose in life, which is to know God. And we have a secondary dharma, whatever that is to serve the world in some way that uplifts us spiritually. Because we want the big dharma, to know God, that's there. But the second dharma, which is extremely important, is a life of service that confronts us in a way that we are able to grow spiritually. There's not like you should be a this or you should be a that. Are we choosing something that really elevates us spiritually through the challenges it creates for us? It's a really interesting question, isn't it? So sometimes in the New Age we say, well, if it's easy, it's good. If it's difficult, maybe not so good. It's really just the opposite. If it's a challenge, then there's a sign that this is something for us to grow spiritually with. So love is a great challenge. Relationships are the oldest and newest frontier. And there are varieties of relationships. But it is really a frontier of consciousness. And those people who take that challenge will be elevated through it. So I mentioned I had to face my fear back in 1973 when I was involved in a 6-week kind of at-night seminar after work from 8 p.m. to 2 in the morning. Most people have fallen asleep at this particular time, and I'm seeing it. Literally, this guy's giving a talk, and I'm seeing angels, and I'm thinking, oh God, I must be going crazy. And there was a certain amount of fear. And then I'm looking at these faces, and suddenly the person who's giving the talk turns and starts talking to these. Like, obviously he's seeing them too, and obviously it wasn't a delusion. We were actually seeing this. I didn't say anything. And it's like, oh my gosh, there are other dimensions. All this is going on. And in my case, I was in a state of fear for an hour. It's like, well, should I run out? I mean, this is like a lot. Relationship is like that too. It confronts us with our angels and demons of our families of origin, with our lineages. It brings all that stuff up, and it gets played out in relationship. That's the beauty of relationship, is that it particularly initially brings up all the stuff that we need to face to heal. Okay, our loneliness, our sadness, our sense of incompletion. It's like, and then we're led through the relationship to understand that. Now, one of the things is a relationship cannot make you whole, but a relationship can create the space for you to go inside to feel your wholeness, to access the big self of who we are. And the other person can not only create a safe space, but can activate that sense of love, which is really comes from us. It's non-causal love, but the other person can help activate it and hold it for us. Enduring love is what we're talking about. Relationship asks us, deep relations, is to jump off the mountain of the heart into the unknown. And that way, relationships prepare us for the big unknown, called jumping into the unknown of God prior to time, space, and I amness. That's the power of relationship, is it prepares us for liberation, where we understand that the personality is a case of mistaken identity, where we have the opportunity to disappear into the nothing. Of course, and the title of my book is Into the Nothing, because that's prior to time, space, and I amness or energy. So those dimensions are there, but there's a prior dimension of the nothing. And it's a key. Love, sacred relationship, again, as I say, the oldest and the newest frontier, because it's a frontier people aren't in such a hurry to face anymore, prepares us, because that's an unknown journey in itself. It's mysterious. Sacred relationships are mysterious, and they're there for our spiritual evolution. And even though it's like a little upside down, a little confusing, what holds it together is if we understand that whatever God does is for the best, whatever is brought to us in our life is for the best and for our best level of understanding. And love is important because it motivates us to face that, you see. Love motivates us to move into the unknown of relationship despite the fear of intimacy, despite the fear of getting hurt. That's what's so beautiful about it, right? Think about it. It's like, despite the fear, love motivates us. And that's a prototype of the deepest love, which is love for God. And may everyone be blessed with this understanding that love, learning to love fearlessly, learning to love in a way that incorporates and overcomes the fear. So love becomes a driving force in relationship, overcoming the fear of intimacy, but also on fear. Love for God helps us overcome the fear of the unknown when we jump into the mystery of God. May everyone be blessed that we're able to experience that love and have the courage to jump into the mystery of the unknown of the divine. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Adakyalasan.